All right, man.
What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a fantastic afternoon. It has been, in the sense of a roller coaster ride. This off season, it hasn't been typical compared to past off seasons the University of Miami has had. But you know what, Ross? Once again, we are searching for another offensive coordinator. A lot of names are floating around. There's Marcus Arroyo, former UNLV head coach, Coach Justin Herbert at Oregon with Mario Cristobal won the Rose Bowl together. Doug Nussmeier is a name that Football Scoop, good website. They actually have a lot of prominent information released that, is heavily interested in the University of Miami offensive coordinator position. I believe he was an offensive coordinator at Florida, Michigan, and the quarterbacks coach for the Dallas Cowboys. And then there's other names that always float around, such as Scott Frost, Dan Mullen. I know, Ross, we were talking about Brian Hartline, see what happens there. A lot of people wanted Jeff Scott. Seems like he's going to Clemson, be having a analyst role. Well, Dabo Swinney's done an incredible job this offseason. So there's a lot to talk about, but let's start off with the offensive coordinator position, because Ross, I truly think this is a job that whoever takes it needs to execute. I don't we can survive another Gaddis-like season where it's like, okay, he did awful this year, we need to get rid of him. I don't think we can have that as a program year two. Like, Mario needs to really solidify this role, and I think a safe bet is Marcus Arroyo. You've already coached with him. You've won a Rose Bowl with him. He's helped develop Justin Herbert, first-round NFL draft pick, NFL quarterback. There's your experience. I think he's your choice, in my opinion. I will say it's interesting that Coach Cristobal has still not maybe even offered him the job, because if your ex-offensive coordinator is on the market, Ross, why not just contact him? Why not just give him the job? It's interesting. Unless there's something else going on behind the scenes who Mario wants. Remember, Josh Gaddis came out of left field. Came out of left field. Nobody saw that coming. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Ross, what's your take on the offensive coordinator role being filled?
Well, like you mentioned, a lot of names getting passed around out there. Arroyo, James Coley, Dan Mullen, Jeff Scott was one of those ones I talked to you previously about, which I would have loved to have had. He was part of the Clemson offense that was really cooking. That's why they brought him back. There are people that think that Tommy Rees from Notre Dame might like a change of scenery. I'm not quite sold on that one, honestly. It's just one that I'm not sold on. Marcus Arroyo, I really got my attention on him, dude. I mean, not only being part of Cristobal's staff, and we all know that Cristobal values relationships. He truly does. He was the head coach at UNLV, which is a disaster of a job for anybody. I don't care who you are, and he went through it during COVID, so of course it was just bound to fail, basically. But he's got experience as an OC, as a QB coach, a tight end coach, and an assistant head coach and head coaching. He's also recruited in the states of California and Texas, and that's big for Mario Cristobal.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Falconer X with a $3.05 donation. Thank you so much. Coral Gables will not be frosty this season. Here's the thing. And I said this earlier in the show. If, let's say, we hire Scott Frost, it has to work out, Ross. We can't have another season where, hey, it's another shit show offensively. We can't. Even Kevin Steele on defense. Yes, the defense was on the field a lot more than they should have with constant 3-and-outs. Okay, but we can't be giving up 40-plus points to opponents like UNC, Duke, Florida State this upcoming season, Clemson. We let up a lot of points. Yes, the offense did not play its part. Injury prone. We used 3 different quarterbacks at times. We got to step up overall as a football program. We need to take the next step from 5-7, whether it's 7-5, 8-4. I think that's a fair range for this upcoming year. Ross, if you were Mario Cristobal, name me your first choice, realistic, of course. Throw out crazy names, but you know,
Yeah.
it's probably unrealistic. Who would be your first choice in your backup plan?
My first choice is Marcus Arroyo. Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Now, some people might argue with me on this one or not, but I believe that there is a possible chance that Joe Brady could want to get back into calling plays. While he is the quarterback coach in the NFL for the Bills right now, that's a job that can be replaced by Ken Dorsey easily. He can be the OC and quarterback coach once again for them there. And if Joe Brady wants to get back into play calling, he's a South Florida native, dude. He grew up as a Miami fan himself. So he was part of that Joe Burrow attack that tossed 60 touchdowns and won the Heisman. 60 touchdowns. I mean, it's a tough one to pull, but it's a name that if for some reason he wants to get back in the mix, he's a name we got to look at, dude. And Brian Hartline, it comes down to what Coach Day wants to do. If Coach Day truly wants to take over play calling and just leave Hartline with the OC title, but not the play calling, that could open a door. Because Hartline, I think, wants to continue to move up because he's young and he's a hot name, dude, especially on the recruiting trail.
Another name that has experience, as offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, is in the NFL at a position role. T. Martin, his son's playing baseball at the University of Miami currently. I believe his name's Caden Martin. That's someone else just to look out for. We are going to need an offensive coordinator that can actually take on the role as a quarterback. I think having a quarterbacks coach and an offensive coordinator, I think the offensive coordinator, you need to have a quarterback mind leading the offense, calling the plays that has past experience developing quarterbacks. Because this is Tyler Van Dyke's last year at Miami, Ross.
Yeah.
It needs to be a smooth ride because last year was awful. He was injured. None of the quarterbacks played well. None of them. So we need someone that can develop quarterbacks, whoever it is. I think Marcus Arroyo is a safe choice. You already have experience working with him at Oregon. You won a Rose Bowl with him. Quarterback Justin Herbert got drafted in the first round. Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke, he is a NFL prospect at the quarterback position. This is a great scenario for him, and you've already worked with Marcus Arroyo. That's who I would go after as my priority as well. And I think it's realistic. I think it's very realistic.
Yeah, it is realistic. There's a name. Some of these guys are kind of asking for some out of the box ideas, some random names. I do have one for you guys here, which I feel is a absolute system fit with Cristobal, and that is the Utah offensive coordinator, Andy Ludwig. I do believe that he would be a system fit. The power run game there, the way they use the passing attack, that's an appeal to Mario. You got to remember, that's an appeal for him.
I hope it's funny. I'm not a fan of the power run game. I saw, when Tyler Van Dyke played against North Carolina, he threw the ball, I believe 50 passing attempts he had. I think we need to, as an offense, and this is when Miami plays the best offensively, to running a lot of empty sets, up tempo, no huddle, with Tyler Van Dyke as quarterback. That's how he gets in a groove. Let him air it out in a football game. Take that Cliff Kingsbury mentality, offensive scheme, what Mike Leach did throughout his coaching career. Take that mentality with Tyler Van Dyke. You got to play to his game, and that's how he gets in a rhythm. Now, if Tyler Van Dyke gets injured, well, that's a different story. Nobody wishes that, but in football, as we saw this past season, Miami was very injury prone.
Very.
Everyone got injured. So we'll see. The running back room for me, Ross, is a question mark. I know Don Chaney, unfortunately, has been injured throughout his career at Miami. I think he has a lot of talent when he's healthy. Yeah. I really do. You can't make up that big hit he made against Henry Toto. Literally knocked him out the game. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
I think Trevante Citizen, that's another player. He was injured this past year, had to sit out. I think he has, a lot of people had high praises for him. We saw flashes from Henry Parrish. And you have Williams coming in as well. So I'm curious how the running back room will be if it's healthy or not. But I'm not, with all the history, I'm not, it's a question mark, basically. That's how I'll put it. And, we'll get into the other positions soon, but I really would prefer a offensive coordinator that comes in with a pass heavy mind. I really do. That's just me. Whatever works out, works out, but that's what I would like to see.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, I could say a name that, of course, would never happen. It's a guy like Cliff Kingsbury. He wants to get back into play calling and in the NCAA. He's not going to do an OC. He's going to get head coaching opportunities. But somebody like that, though, somebody who is willing to just open up the offense and just toss the ball all around. Now, I'd like a little bit more of a run game than what Cliff offers, but I love his passing approach. I love his attack in the air.
Here's my thing, Ross. And no, I mean, Cliff Kingsbury offered Baker Mayfield a walk-on spot when no other college did. He went on to win the Heisman Trophy and was a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's still in the NFL as a quarterback. He offered Patrick Mahomes as a 3-star quarterback as well when, Patrick Mahomes arguably is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. You can argue it, whatever, but everyone agrees he's one of the best.
Top 3.
In the NFL, absolutely, top 3. And he offered him as a 3-star.
Yep.
He always ran a great offense.
He sees that talent.
Here's my thing with the OC job at the University of Miami. I look at the market value. Maybe people can comment in the section. Maybe people aren't going to like this. Look at the offensive coordinator position at Miami and the amount of turnover we've had over the years. The amount of turnover this program has had in general. If there was a stock market price for the University of Miami right now, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It's not as desirable as an Alabama, a Georgia, a Clemson. So if Alabama's looking for an OC, and I know Bill O'Brien is taking an NFL role, Cliff Kingsbury going to be the OC at Alabama, if Nick Saban wants him there, is a lot safer. It's a great job. It's a much better job in Miami.
Yeah, it is.
We just had the Broyles Award winner, Josh Gaddis, fired after a year. Whatever you want to call it, let go. Who cares? Brett Lashley, his second year, was getting a ton of heat from the fan base.
Yeah.
Dan Enos, goodbye. Same thing. After a year, it's gone. It's constant turnover.
How do we make it work, Paul? How do we get somebody in and make it all gel? This is college football. So much movement going on year after year. But we got to find a guy that'll be here at least 3 seasons.
Well, unless he gets hired for doing an incredible job.
We can't stop that.
Right.
That kind of stuff happens.
You can't. I think what you have to do is, I think you got to go with Marcus Arroyo then. He's been with you already. Mm-hmm. He's already been with you. He left for a UNLV head coaching job. Meaning this second time around, if he is offered a head coaching job, maybe he's going to be more selective. He's like, man, my time at UNLV, it was honestly a bad choice. Yeah. I could have been with Mario at Oregon, improved my resume a bit, and maybe I would have gotten a better job.
That's a great point.
I go with Marcus Arroyo, honestly. I don't know why Mario hasn't offered him the job. Maybe he doesn't want to work with him. If he doesn't, I think that's a little bit strange.
Yeah.
But I think he's your guy, and I think you're going to have stability with him, and you know what you're going to get already. You've already worked with him. It came out great. So go out and hire him. I don't know why we're waiting. I don't know who we're looking at, but it better work out this year and moving forward because we can't have more turnover.
I've heard there, and I can't, quote this or say it's for real, but I've heard some mentions, some rumblings of the chance of Marcus Arroyo possibly getting some looks from some NFL teams for certain positions. Now, these aren't going to be high-paying gigs or frontline gigs. Right. These are going to be, secondary gigs. He has to work his way up. But if that's the case and he is exploring a little bit of the NFL, then that's why I could see why things are taking a little slower. But other than that, then we already should have made the hire. If he's not, If he's not exploring that, then this hire should have been made already, in my opinion.
You know, and I got to respect it. A lot of coaches hate the recruiting game of college football.
Yeah.
The amount of time you spend recruiting players that don't even commit to your program or commit last minute, it's a sales cycle. If you're in sales and you got a prospect, you got a vendor who wants to buy your solution, whatever you're selling, a car, and you got them. They're like, I'm going to buy from you on this date. I'm going to buy your car. I'm going to buy your solution, whatever you're selling. And then, okay, the deadline is midnight. At 11:59, they tell you, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm going with someone else. That's really painful. After the amount of hours and days you spent to reel it in, to get that recruit to come to your program, to buy into your program, pen to paper, it's really frustrating. It takes a lot of time from your family, your life. I don't blame anyone for taking an NFL job. Look at Joe Brady. Maybe he doesn't want to come back because of that.
Yeah.
Dan Mullen hated recruiting. Ken Dorsey, I don't think he ever wanted to coach college football because of that. So I don't blame people for taking an NFL job. I really don't. It's really brutal, the recruiting aspect of college football. I mean, we saw with Cormani McLean. We saw that. You know, best of luck at Colorado. I hope he does really well. I think he will with Deion Sanders. I think Deion's going to do a good job at Colorado. But, man, it is brutal recruiting.
That one got strung out a long time when we put too much effort into it to not make it happen. There's an interesting one here. What's happening, guys, is the OC from Wake Forest available. I love the offense at OC, or the OC at Wake Forest. I love how they run their offense there. Then they do it with far less talent than most teams do. They don't get to recruit major players there, and they still produce. He finds a way to get quarterbacks, and he finds a way to get put up stats. I don't know how he does it, but he does it.
Yeah, Sam Hartman. I thought he did a pretty good job in his career. I think, Warren Ruggiero is definitely someone you can contact. If sometimes though, if things are going smooth at a program, you're happy there, you just stay there. Sometimes
like Venables.
Exactly. It's after a long time, he's like, all right, I want a head coaching job at the right school.
Yep.
I want to go to Oklahoma.
Yep.
So I mean, who knows? I know every time Miami's looking for an OC, his name comes up, Warren Ruggiero. It's going to be interesting. I am a little bit curious why Coach Marcus Arroyo has not, why there hasn't been a job offer yet or accepted position at the University of Miami if there has been an offer.
Yeah. My hope is that the offer's already at least been made, and that, it's just behind the scenes right now. And if they're working on details, that's great. I'm okay. If that's where we're at, I'm totally okay with it. We don't know where we're at that point, though. We have no freaking clue what point we're at with any of this. But if that's the point we're at and we're just nailing down details, or if Arroyo does want to take a week or two extra to sniff around at the NFL gigs, I say give him that time, because he's the perfect fit.
Ross, we talked about the OC position. I want to talk about this current team. Thank you, Adam Foles, for your $5 donation. What about T. Martin as co-OC wide receivers and somebody like a Andy Ludwig, OC quarterback? I like the NFL college mix. I said T. Martin previously in the show.
I said Ludwig.
Viable option. I do. I think it's a viable option. His son is playing baseball at the University of Miami. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to bring T. Martin over to the University of Miami. If it's not the offensive coordinator position you want to hire him at some personnel role, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I think he'll even take a price cut maybe. His son's at the University of Miami. You can watch him play baseball at Mark Light Stadium.
Yeah.
He's right there. Watch all his games. It's the perfect fit. It really is.
That's two names you brought up. You brought up T and I brought up Andy. And Andy Ludwig is the guy up at Utah running the offensive coordinator position there, the system fit that I felt would be so good. So, I mean, that is a possibility. We could see a co-OC type of situation. Well, I'm not always a big fan of it. If you do it the right way, it can work. It can. But thank you for the donation, Adam Foles. Truly appreciate it.
Ross, I want to talk about this currently. And I know this is not the final roster. We're always evaluating the transfer. It's always going to get bigger. If this was the current Miami Hurricanes football roster, everyone we have going into the upcoming season, what is your outlook on this team? And let's say your OC is Marcus Arroyo, whoever, a good, safe name that would bring out a decent offense.
And we stay fairly healthy.
Just the outlook going into the year. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess decently healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. If we stay fairly healthy and we hire a guy, I'll just say it. Let's say we hire Marcus Arroyo. He is our OC. If we go forward with that, I expect to see a team hovering closer around 8 wins. I was expecting more us to get around 7 wins this next season if we would have stuck with the same staff. I would project us more around 8 to 9 wins if we bring in a guy like Marcus Arroyo, because that alone on offense will bring us a couple extra wins that we just normally get in close games. We always get these close games against these mediocre teams. It's time to bring an offensive system that's going to blow those mediocre defenses out of the freaking water.
I think we need help at wide receiver. I think we need help at tight end room. We have a lot of tight ends. I think Elijah Arroyo needs to step up as a starter. The 8th year NFL, the 8th year college football tight end we brought for Cam McCormick. Is that his name?
I believe so.
Brought from Oregon. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know why that was a take, but whatever. That tells me we have a lot of youth that we don't trust. We need a veteran presence, and when I mean veteran, we need a guy who's played literally 2 times the amount of college football you're supposed to play. It seems like.
Yeah.
No, I would say Elijah Arroyo needs to step up. I want to see a Jaleel Skinner on the field a lot.
Yeah.
There's no sense of putting him on the bench. There is none at all. Grow with his issues, grow with his pains on the field. If he drops a catch, put him back in, throw him the football again. He needs to get better. He's a very good football player. He has a really elite skill set that not a lot of tight ends have. Get him on the field. Looking at the schedule, Ross, we got Miami, Ohio, which they went to a bowl game. Miami did not. Well, they're both named Miami, but you get the point. They went 6-7 last year. I don't know why that game worries me. I don't know why. I don't even know anything about Miami, Ohio, but I don't know why that game. I'm nervous about that first game. Then you got Texas A&M at home. Whether you hate Jimbo Fisher, whether you hate Texas A&M, you thought it was an awful year similar to Miami last year, I still think that is going to be a close game. I really do. I don't think it's going to be a one-sided game. You got Bethune-Cookman. You should win that one. Then you go up to Temple. And then you play Georgia Tech at home. I think North Carolina away, we always have a hard time playing at North Carolina. It's always a close football game.
Yep.
Regardless of their record or ours, it's always close. So that's going to be a close game. Then you got Clemson at home. I would be in complete shock if we beat Clemson at home. I would be in complete shock. Clemson should dominate us. I'm just being real. They should win that game. They brought in the OC from TCU. Cade Klubnik is an amazing college quarterback. I think he's going to be very good. And Jeff Scott's on their coaching staff now. They're going all in this year. They understand Georgia and Alabama have taken 5 steps forward. Dabo Swinney is pissed off. Then you're playing UVA at home. And then this is where it gets tricky. Your last 4 games, you're going up to Raleigh, North Carolina to play NC State. That's going to be a tough game. Florida State on the road in Tallahassee, they are going to bring it. They are going to bring it. They beat us by who knows how many points they beat us by, 40, 35. I want to forget that game, but they will bring it against Miami. And Jordan Travis is coming back. This is going to be a good year for Florida State, whether you hate Florida State or you respect them. This is going to be a good year for them. And then you got Louisville at home and then Boston College on their senior day on the road in a cold-ass Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts venue.
That's a tough
shit. I will give Boston College the edge in that game. It's going to be on Thanksgiving too. So, yeah, that schedules could be rough. I think Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, Boston College, and Texas A&M, those 5 are toss-ups. I think those 5. If I missed one, I was reading it quick, but I think those 5 games I would circle in as really not necessarily toss-ups. Whether it's Clemson isn't really a toss-up. Clemson should dominate. Florida State, that's a tough one in Clemson. I think those two and NC State, those three are definitely going to be tough games for Miami to win.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this list, I feel the same way as you do about that first game. For some reason, this Miami Ohio game bothers me.
It's the Middle Tennessee State, I think, relapse.
Yeah, but this is a team with even more talent. You know what I'm saying? Like they have more talent than Middle Tennessee State.
They went to a bowl game. I don't think Middle Tennessee State went on like a losing streak after that Miami game.
Yeah. I mean,
that was just really weird.
That was absolutely embarrassing. I mean, if we think about our team and that's the team that comes back up this next year, our season is going to be absolutely fucking atrocious.
There's a potential chance Miami goes 0-2 going into Bethune-Cookman. There is a potential chance there.
Yeah. Yes. There's a very legitimate chance of that. Like or 1-1. I doubt it's 2-0.
I can't trust this team. I can't. I have from last year. I can't trust this team. We need to add players from the wide receiver position from the portal. Running back room was injury heavy. We had 3 different quarterbacks last year. We don't have an offensive coordinator yet. The shuffling of the offensive line bothers me. Zion Nelson, I think he's coming back. It seems like, unless he put out a public notice that I missed, that he is coming back or not. If he's coming back, let's say, Ja'Kai Clark transfers out. He was your starting center. You bring in Lee from UCF as the starting center. Ja'Kai Clark could have been a second-team player. That's how you're building depth. He rides. You're shuffling there. You're shuffling at the offensive line. I know Miami wants to build the trenches. They're trying to build out the D-line and O-line. It's going to be some growing pains offensive line this year. I guarantee you. I know we have Maui Goa coming in, Okunlola. I highly doubt their first game in college football, they're just going to freaking dominate. Their second game, they're going to dominate. I highly doubt it. They're going to grow this year and get better and better every single year. That's what freshmen do. Okay, it's very rare for a freshman first game, and throughout his whole college career, he's just a stud. It's very rare. There's no Julio Jones. The Julio Jones concept, the Reggie Bushes, they don't happen a lot. Okay, so it is what it is. But no, I think this is going to be I think there's a chance to go 8-4. I think there's a chance to go 7-5. I would be surprised if we go 9-3. I would.
I'll tell you what, Paul. One of the big pickups, in my opinion, and a lot of people feel the same way in the transfer portal, was us getting the interior offensive lineman Javian Cohen from
Alabama. That was huge. That was a big win in the portal. That was a huge win from Alabama. Hasn't given up a sack in his entire career. That was a great piece to your offensive line. But something, Ross, we still have not identified is a second-team offensive line.
Yeah.
We don't have that. Until we have a second-team offensive line that we can count on, personnel-wise, that's exactly. I can't have confidence because you're going to rely on your second team. Coach Pato, we spoke with him last offseason. We need to identify a second-team offensive line. That was the red flag going into this year, okay? Because injuries happen in football. It's not like other sports where it's less injuries do occur. So, until we have that second-team offensive line that we can rely on, I can't. That's the backbone of your offense is your O-line.
I'd be curious as to what the conversations were like with Ja'Kai Clark when we brought in Matt Lee. Was it just, hey, we think you're a starter and you deserve starting snaps. You're not going to get them here. You should go somewhere else. Or do we go, hey, man, we'd love to keep you around because we're trying to build a second unit? Yeah,
I don't know. Obviously, it's tough for players to buy into a program, honestly. John Campbell left, for example. It's tough for players to buy into a program that hasn't had success during their entire career. Yeah. If we were in a player's position, they came in as a freshman. It's been a shit show. Sophomore year, it's been awful. Junior year, new coach. Okay, second win. Let's see how it's like. It's even worse. It's very tough for players who have been through such rough seasons year after year after year to really buy in. It really is.
This guy says we have 9 deep at the line.
Derek, you told me Romello Brinson was going to be a stud last offseason. I do think he has talent, but he did not take off the past year. He was not part of the wide receiver rotation. We'll see if he is a stud at his next program. We are not 9 deep. We are not.
No, we're too young. We've got some interesting young names, very interesting young names.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, here is a question here too about the portal, and it's something we should bring up. Jaheim Singletary. There was some buzz there for a while, especially when we found out Cormani was going to be pretty much heading. When we all got the point that he was going to be heading to Colorado, and then Singletary's name came up, and then I haven't heard much since then.
We need him. We brought in, a couple DBs this offseason from UCS, quarterback position, Iowa as well. We need Jaheim Singletary to come in. We need him.
Yes.
We need to. That's all I can say.
Tyreek's
gone. Ivy's gone. Whether you like Ivy or not, Stevenson or not, we lost 2 players from that room. I mean, we need those guys. We lost. God, what was his name? I'm blanking right now. The freshman from Louisiana. I forgot his name. Kamari Rogers. We lost him as well. Best of luck, but we need guys. We need personnel. That's the thing. We are like a couple injuries away at certain position groups, and I hate, it's just part of the game that they're going to happen in football. If we get that same injury bug we had this past season, it could be another rough year. It's the reality. I mean, we probably had how many players injured last year?
I can't even count on.
30. I mean, a rough estimate.
20 to 30.
Yeah, if that replicates this upcoming season, that's going to hurt any team.
No team. I mean, Alabama could survive a little bit, but they're not going to win a championship.
It's going to hurt any team. It's going to hurt everyone.
Yeah.
So,
and especially a first-year team with first-year head coaches, everybody learning something brand new. That's how things get screwed up real quick.
Yeah. So, in wide receiver position, let's talk about it. Kobe Young, Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George should be a nice role player.
Was Latson a one-year rental?
Latson's a role player. Isaiah Horton has 6 catches in his career, I believe. Those are 5.
I like his upside.
Yeah. So that's another group. I mean, you got Nathaniel Joseph from Miami.
Rashard Smith.
Yeah, Rashard Smith. Yeah, I mean, we got to use these guys more. We do. We gotta utilize them more. We have
healthy Restrepo.
Yeah, exactly. So it's healthy one. Exactly. So it's going to be an interesting year. I really do. I'm not going to make up lies. I'm never going to tell you lies. I'm going to say how I feel. Is what it is.
Yeah. It's always going to be the real from us here, man. We don't like to sugarcoat anything. That's for damn sure.
I'm not going to tell you lies. I'm not going to make up, fake rumors. I'm not into that stuff.
I'm not into
the 7-5 team, 8-4 team. Looking at the schedule, I don't think we're going to be Florida State. I don't think we're going to be Clemson. I think on the road against North Carolina, I'll give North Carolina the edge. And the first game against Miami, Ohio, makes me nervous. Maybe it's the Middle Tennessee State, post-traumatic effect. I don't know, but that first game, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I could be wrong. We'll see. And then Texas A&M at home. They're an SEC opponent. They're going to bring it to us. They're a little pissed off from this past year. They're going to bring it. That's going to be a fight.
And just imagine what it's going to look like at Miami, not this season, but next season when TBD isn't around. What's the quarterback spot going to look like?
We'll get there when we get there. We'll get there.
Hopefully, that's a portal thing. Hopefully,
I'm going to keep it real, and I'm going to say how I feel about the football team. I'm never going to say things I'm not going to say things just to please people. I think 7-5, best case 8-4. If we go 9-3, that would be amazing. I think that is an amazing year.
9 wins would be a very good year with this team, especially with the changes we had.
Well, Ross, anything else you want to bring up that we have not talked about? I know we talked about OC, current state of the roster. Anything else that you want to bring up? We do need wide receivers. We do. We need a veteran wide receiver from a program that has production. Needs to come to Miami. We do need that.
Yeah. We need. I was going to say that we need somebody that can come in and play alongside of Colby Young, somebody who can kind of fit that
Young,
being the opposite side of Young, to have a difference, a maker on each side, on the left and right
I
outside.
think we need an end zone threat. Red zone. Sorry, yeah, red zone, end zone threat. I really do. Like Colby Young has that length.
Yep.
Remind me the name of the Oregon wide receiver that hit the portal, and I believe he chose Nebraska.
Oh God.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about, dude.
6'4" range.
Yeah, big
Type
big
of wide receiver target we need.
Yeah, he went there because Rule.
That's the type of wide receiver target we need.
Yeah.
So that's who I would go after. That type of body size.
I'm not sure who's available on the market currently. I'm as far as wide receiver. I need to look into that a little more. But we definitely have to get some help there along the way. I mean, we have to. There's no doubt about it.
Colby Young came from a junior college. If you see someone in junior college, Alonzo Highsmith likes a lot. I know he's overseeing a lot of player evaluations.
Yeah.
Give it a chance. We have nothing to lose, literally.
Yeah, seriously. Especially when it comes to that position, we keep recruiting there, and we keep adding experience, talent ahead of them while we develop the young guys. But my thing is that give these young guys some burn. Don't just settle for these older guys who've got experience all the time. Let's start building that depth. Let's build the damn depth.
I agree. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Greatly appreciate it. It's the off season. And sometimes there's not much to talk about, but I really do think it's going to be interesting who we hire. So it's going to make a big impact offensively for this program, good or bad. It's going to make an impact. So thank you again tonight, guys, and have a great rest of your night. Go Canes.
It's all about the U, baby.